People in wheelchairs don't dance. That is a statement which was made to me at a dance conference in 2014 by a person very familiar with the field of dance. Of course, I was a bit stunned by the statement because at that point, I had been working with dancers in wheelchairs for about 15 years, and professional dance companies such as Axis Dance Company and Dancing Wheels have had dancers in wheelchairs performing on stage since the 1980s. But the statement signaled an important issue, the issue that frequently people have been taught to see and understand dance in a very particular way, a very strict way. Dance and the body. I know this because I come from a training regime which enforced a very particular way of defining dance, a very particular way of seeing the body. For instance, if I were to direct you in the correct way to perform a first arabesque, there would be numerous details of correct form and posture. The standing leg is held very straight and fully outwardly rotated. The upper body exerts an upward force against the push down of the leg. The shoulders are firmly up, down, and back, and the front arm comes out from the shoulder, a little above 90 degrees, not here, and a little softening in the elbow, not limp, not too straight or rigid. The middle finger is just below the other two, and the thumb is well tucked. So you get the idea, and I could keep going. But these dictates reflect a particular way of seeing the body, a particular aesthetic. Now, it is reasonable for an aesthetic to define its own terms, to define its own aesthetics, and I continue, in fact, to draw upon classical ballet aesthetics in some of the work that I do. But it is problematic when one form becomes the superior form to which all bodies are expected to adhere. Now, I trained quite early in dance, beginning at the age of 3. Classical ballet influenced the majority of my training. As I just demonstrated, this training involves numerous hours of repetitive movement sequences working towards a kind of perfected form and absolute control of movement. And I recognize that I, quote, look like a dancer. I kind of fit the balletic aesthetic. This is due to genetics and years of diligent training. But what if that weren't the case? If through genetics or life circumstances, things had been different, I may have never been able to have pursued the art form of dance seriously. And it is from this context that we can see the truly radical nature of dancers with disabilities. Dancers whose bodies depart from the norm, depart from normative expectations, and instead really challenge the ways we habitually see dance and the body. My journey into disability became part of an intimate family experience. My father was injured in a severe car accident when I was 12, and it left him with a permanent disability. The pursuit of these perfect notions of form and control in the ballet class seemed incongruous with my personal life, which felt anything but controlled, perfect, refined, and composed. My father's body was broken, mangled, and dysfunctional. In a split second, he went from a, quote, able-bodied man whose body fit the norm to a body departing from the norm. And simultaneously, our family became a family that departed from the norm. These life and dance experiences seemed like irreconcilable contradictions, and yet, years later, would set the framework, would set the seeds for my work in dance and disability. So years later, after pursuing these artistic ideals day in and day out in the dance class, my path led me to working with dancers with disabilities. And through this work, entirely new options opened, new ways of seeing the dancing body emerged, new choreographic possibilities emerged. The aesthetic which had been drilled into my head as the only aesthetic, the correct aesthetic, became deconstructed in favor of a broader palette of seeing what the dancing body might look like and what it might do. For instance, the dancer with an unstable gait presents opportunities to explore balance, momentum, and off-centered movement in new ways. The motion of a wheelchair presents opportunities to explore momentum and weight sharing in new and different ways. And the dancer with missing limbs presents new opportunities to explore shaping and interactive possibilities with other dancers. You see, in the integrated dance field, where dancers with and without disabilities work together, entirely new ideas come to light. Limitations and challenges, or perceived limitations and challenges, become obliterated in favor of a broader palette, and new exciting movement invention emerges. So, in a field where the drive for physical perfection can become increasingly narrow, dancers with disabilities remind the field that it is first and foremost about communicating human experience and about enlivening ideas in evocative and highly creative ways. As such, it should attend to a diverse spectrum of bodies. While it is important for us to work towards skilled rigor and artistic prowess, it is also important that we remind ourselves that dance is supposed to serve diverse participants and diverse audiences. We are sometimes stuck in our own kinds of aesthetics, and there are times we need to jump outside of that. So, dancers with disabilities present us with that opportunity, an opportunity to explore difference in new and amazing kinds of ways. As you watch this piece, I hope that you will consider where you place value and why, and think about what bodies are meant to occupy particular spaces and why. What lens are you seeing with? Thank you.